Welcome back to the LJL. I'm still Daxel, still joined by Callum, Melvin, Izzle. Now we have our final game of the day. It's been a long broadcast. I know it's only been our second game, but I think this is going on for 9 hours, something ridiculously long, and we finally gotten to the end of the day. Is Sengoku Gaming versus V3 Esports. V3, of course, tied for another. They were second, actually, I think. One below Rascal Jester, and they're doing pretty damn good. They're looking quite strong there, Melvin Izzle.
With their loss to Rascal Jester, if they can secure this game, V3 would end up bumping their way up due to the surprise loss of Rascal Jester that only our wonderful producer Reed saw coming today, and would end up tying for that first place. And if memory serves, I believe that would leave Axis in sole possession of what is effectively second place, which is, again,
That's
the more that
crazy.
you think about it, absolutely bonkers. As we don't have too much to prep you on for this one. The main thing that we are going to say coming into this one is Paz playing against their former team that they were on for Worlds last year, so is something significant. We have experienced players across the board, but based on current form, we are expecting V3 to come in and wipe the floor with Sengoku.
Yeah, definitely. When you have powerhouses like Hollow, like Ace, and then we can't really say anything bad about Cog, and then of course Mugen, you know him from Flash Wolves, from Hanwha Life. He's been around the scene, the pro scene, in Asia for a very long time. And he's stepping up. He was doing really, really well on the other teams that he was on previously, but now he seems to have found his form. He's his mid-jungle synergy with Ace just seems to be on point, and that's where I'll be keeping my eye on for this game, because Ace likes to play kind of a Doingby-esque style, so he likes to play aggressively, he likes to be looking for this damage throughout the laning phase, and that's exactly where we want to be keeping our eyes.
I suppose last point I will bring up before we hop into pick and ban is that last game, Sengoku, while they did get blown out of the water, we must note, Ramune was not ignored. They did actually get attention at some points from Crash and NT, so fingers crossed. Get the Copium back in here. I know they just lost to Axis, but you know, as we get into this pick ban, let's take a looky-loo and see what they end up putting them on for this game.
I would like to actually see them play around Ramune a lot more. I know we harped on about this in our first game, which was that last game, and we did see a little bit there, but when you have Mugen playing around Ace so much, like a lot of pro teams do, it's that mid-jungle duo that they play and find success with a lot of the time because it is a short lane. I feel like Crash would do well to play around Ramune, and there is that bit of a disconnect with this team, with Sengoku, that they actually don't do that. And they have champions, Ramune, that is, they have champions that will facilitate that mid-jungle synergy, that mid-jungle duo. They have Lucian for early game. They have lots of scale and control mages. I feel like Crash should play around Ramune, especially when all the other teams in the LJL do, and it feels like it's their weak link.
We did see that last game, they even had a pick banned away from them in the second rotation. It was that the Blanc taken away. One of those safe assassins that we may see banned out in this pick ban as we end up throwing on over. I believe we're about to be ready, if I'm not mistaken, as we can finally see if Sengoku are able to take this one away. Oh boy, there goes that Akali. Great first pick banned away from V3, and would have given Ramune a bit of confidence that they really need coming into this one.
Yeah, it really, really would. Really high priority for a lot of pro teams, given how she has, I think, an 80% pick ban rate throughout Europe and NA, and doing really, really well. She has about maybe a 70% win rate, if not more than that, but NT straight onto that Thresh.
A deja vu from last draft right here, but we will not see them paired up with any of the following. We have got the Zinzao, Renekton, and Akali banned by V3 versus the Nocturne, Karma, and Volibear. I feel like at this point, the Nocturne is kind of just a PTSD ban that Ramune needs to get rid of after that Silas performance from last week. Makes sense, they got absolutely camped on it to no end, as it will be the first pick Viego from V3. Oh boy, has the meta found its way over? Well, we've seen them play it today, and Ace had one hell of a game.
Yeah, he really did, but will it be in the hands of Ace? It still has that flexibility, keeping their cards close to their chest, And even with the Lee Sin locked in, that can go one of 3 places as well. I'm expecting that to be the Viego mid or jungle, and then the Lee Sin towards the top side. That seems to be the way that teams like to be defaulting to, at least at the moment. But again, keep the cards close to their chest. It looks like, nope, they're just teasing us. It's not going to be a Gwen.
We won't talk about it until they
excited.
lock in. Yeah, I actually had the audible gasp, as it more than likely this would make the most sense, because this is how the team likes to play Sengoku. All their eggs in the Gango NT basket. Yes, Paz is a pretty good player of themselves, but it is not where this team focuses. They are the solid role player weak side for this team in this current iteration. And when you have a bot lane like Gango and NT on champions like Aphelios Thresh, you should be able to win next to any lane matchup you're put against.
Yeah, it's such a potent bot lane. It's safe, but it's also aggressive. You want to play aggressively, and we know that Gango and Enti really love to play aggressively. If you have the Gravitum, then you have all that CC. It just makes landing that hook all that much easier. So really expecting great things from Gango and Enti in that bottom side. But then, of course, they're against Reyna and Hollow, so it is quite difficult. But that's the LeBlanc that we were talking about earlier on.
Okay, so short of Senna shenanigans in the bottom lane, that does mean V3 have locked in their entire top side now. Depending on the order, you can obviously switch around the Lee Sin and the Viego, but LeBlanc is most likely going towards Ace, as there goes that Gwen that was just briefly hovered, and there is the Ziggs banned from Sengoku that I was scared they would forget about. We saw them earlier today, V3, when they piloted with that Ziggs Viego comp. Very, very scary, and Ziggs is one of the best champions in the game into Aphelios because he just outranges you tenfold. Makes sense to get rid of them, and if anything, the most important part I'm seeing right now is because that LeBlanc is locked in, it means Orianna is not on the table, which would have been pretty scary for Sengoku to deal with.
It really, really would, especially paired up with that Hecarim. Yes. Yeah, I mean, if you put Ramune on the Orianna, then it's really good with the Hecarim. But you won't be having Sengoku versus the Orianna either. They lock in the Nautilus for Reyna there. Another aggressive support for that bottom side, so I'm expecting a lot of fighting in that area of the map.
Is a good setup. The point and click enables Ace to jump in, get the main burst down, and then try and get the reset based on whoever ends up taking that Viego. As it will be the Orianna, they have got a clean comp so far for Sengoku. This is very cut and dry how you want to play it. Now you just imagine they got to finish it off with a weak side top laner, something potentially blind that's good into those champions. Might even be the Shen. I don't think that's exactly a pick that we see Paz on typically, but oh wait, that's actually just Mundo.
Yeah,
it's locked in.
It was just locked in, yeah.
We got baited by the hover last game so bad I thought they wouldn't lock it in. Okay, that is a weak side top if I ever saw one myself. Not too different from the previous iteration of Mundo, but we'll tell you more about that in the game, as I'm not sure if I think that might be our first Mundo lock-in of the region.
I think it is. I genuinely think it is. We haven't really seen many teams across the world picking up the Mundo that much since he's relatively new, since he got reworked. But I like it. I really, really do. And since you're playing into what I assume is maybe a Lee Sin with Viego jungle, since even though I think they nerfed the Lee Sin for laning.
They nerfed Lee Sin for laning and nerfed Viego for laning, so frankly you're playing with two bad deals right here, but I would say that Viego out of the two should have a better matchup into the Mundo, the only negative being that they won't ever realistically be able to land that stun. One thing I will mention though, Hollow going for that Varus last pick right there, paired with the Nautilus, actually a bot lane that can contest the early power of this Aphelios Thresh, but it is ever so reliant on bush control, because Thresh can always flay the Nautilus out of their hook. So we'll have to see the intricacies of this lane, who ends up running straight down there and putting vision down, as we are going to get kicked off for our last game of this very, very long day.
It has been an exceedingly long day, and I don't know how our producer Reed actually does it. He is a god, the MVP of the LJL OU, undoubtedly. So, Callum, where are we keeping our eyes on for this game? Is it once again towards this bottom side? It looks like it is the Viego top lane, so we'll have to talk about that matchup as we get into game as well, because it's Viego and the new Mundo.
We've got some pretty cool interactions to talk about across the map, but I would say as far as comp goals go, as far as Sengoku have got with this squad, They mainly want to get their bot lane ahead, play very hard down there, and then have Ramonade roam down with Crash post level 6 and just chain dive this Varus Nautilus. You have an immobile ADC in the Varus. When you're against an Orianna, that's just bait right there. And considering the Thresh performance we saw last game, very high standards for NT to live up to.
Yeah, really is. They're on the other side of the Thresh last game. Now have to try and do their best cosplay of the Axis support. Already spotting out slight invade there coming from B3, but nothing really comes from it.
Just trying to really bully Ramune right there. They have seen the playbook to beat Sengoku, and they were going for it immediately right there. Does not end up losing any summoners, nor wards getting picked up either, so there won't be any XP difficulties coming in this first few levels. Take a look at the itemization and the summoners, though. I think that the only really abnormal things, I wouldn't even say they're abnormal, the only things of note would be the fact that Ace does have the teleport on the Blanc, meaning without the Ignite they don't have that same level of kill pressure. Also, because they've gone for the Corrupting, means they are wanting to focus a lot more on these early trades, so they can get pressure for Muujin to invade as Cogcog finds Paz.
He does indeed, just whacks him with the briefcase there and just throws out a cleaver. Helps out Crash a tiny little bit with the leash. It's not the biggest leash I've ever seen in my life, but, you know, every little bit does help. And we're looking at pretty standard starts for both these teams.
Which lane do you want to talk about first? Because I feel like bot lane is the most likely to have immediate action, as whoever eclipses that level 2 mark first will likely go for a kill. But when Reyna is not able to get the hook through the minions, it is going to be a rough one for them. As you'll see in this bot lane, typically Aphelios Thresh could dictate how the lane plays, but it's realistically just down to whoever gets the minutest lead and has a better standing in the lane with bush control.
I think the most pressing one that we should talk about is this top lane matchup, since most of our viewers probably wouldn't have seen that much new Mundo besides in their solo queue games.
So what's old is new again, still has that standard cleaver in the form of a briefcase on this skin. They just throw that forward, do a big old chunk, and that's about the same as it was. The W has had a fundamental change, so I'll stop there.
Yeah, a little bit of engage in the bottom lane. The Flay comes out as well, looking for the hook, and it looks like it's just going to be a trading of damage there as Reyna and Enti both get chipped down.
Does get the favorable end over to Gango right there, and that is mainly because they are able to sustain back up as this Aphelios. They do have this Severum currently, which means that they will be able to heal up a bit. Speaking of healing back up to that top lane, as one thing I will preface is bot lane, both junglers are converging, so I might actually just hold my tongue for a moment, because we do have 2 hook supports that are lurking.
Yep, just lurking, waiting, looking for the hook. There it goes, and I get something coming up on my screen completely blocking what's going on. But once we're back, NT is down to a third of his life, looking for the hook once again. Uses the heal to try and get the support away. In comes the kick now with that charge. Crash looking for the damage, but no one goes down.
Even summoner usage across the board. Crash, no ghost, but that is both supports, all of their summoners blown. Hollow is without heal right now, as Muujin was actually lurking to see if they could pick someone up. But what that will mean as for pressure is that Sengoku should be able to push in a lot more, because Reyna, if they go in, it is way riskier than if Enti throws in hooks. So being low on this Nautilus, as you see here, level 2, they're going to have to take the base now. And now the question is, where do the supports go? Do they just run straight back to bot, or can they make plays on the map first? Because when you have this LeBlanc in the middle lane, they could do with a bit of a hand at least dealing with Orianna in these first few levels.
Yeah, definitely need to be looking for an in somewhere on the map. It feels like Sif, they're just going to actually reset, go back towards that bottom lane. But it feels like Sif, you have to try and get this early advantage. Try and get your mid laner ahead, because whoever gets slightly ahead in this early game, it feels like it will make that matchup all that easier.
And with the LeBlanc Lee Sin, this is a notorious duo from a long time ago that is mainly because you chain them up, Lee Sin always gets the Q, and you can one-shot anybody with your mixed damage. So it is something to be very wary of if you are on the side of this, well, I was going to say Sengoku, but it's realistically just Rabidae who needs to be scared as per usual. But post-level 6, though, we can see return plays. The only issue is, this Hecarim plus Orianna works really well on immobile carries. Lee Sin and LeBlanc, immobile is not a word you typically associate with them. They can typically get away from the onslaught from Hecarim, meaning it doesn't follow up into Shockwave. So very high barrier of execution for this mid-jungle duo coming into the lane.
Well, bright side for Sengoku Gaming is the fact that you're against a Viego who, yeah, technically low mobility, has a dash, and he has his ult to kind of dash him around the map as well. But you're against a Varus, very low mobility carry in that champion for Hollow, and then you have Reyna on this Nautilus until he picks up 3, 4, 5 items. Going to be relatively squishy if he doesn't have his Titan's Wrath up. So they will be most likely the targets for that Crash Ramune pairing there if they decide to actually play around the ball delivery system. Once again, they don't like playing around Ramune, but I'm a little bit skeptical if they are going to play around this like they should.
No bot summoners changed. I believe Reyna has just got their ignite coming up now as the fight starts early.
Once again, the hook just lands the flay back. Reyna, he is down to a third of his life. Make that a quarter now using the Severum. Gonna try and, sorry, the Chakrams. Gonna try and find some damage, but relatively low on mana. Mujin looking for to find something. Reyna lurking for the hook, but will not throw it.
You need to be very careful when you walk into an Aphelios with the red and white guns out. They will kill you from 100 to 0 very, very quickly if you dive into them. So V3 using their better judgment, saying, you know what, we'll maybe come back once he's used a bit more ammo and cycled out of that weapon. Still no support flashes up right now, so it is going to be a bit wary for Reyna if they do look up here, because NT does not have to commit very far if they do go for a play.
Lee Sin once again towards the bottom side. I think he's looking to take this Drake, but the Shockwave gets used as well as the chains down onto Ramune. Just a trading of health bars there. Lee Sin pinging onto the Drake. The bot lane will rotate over. Shockwave resonating strike to start it off.
So we'll leave this dragon take right here from V3 as a moment to go back to Mundo. And that is because what they effectively changed was his W, I believe it's now the Heart Zapper of some variety, is effectively a scuffed Tahm Kench grey health, where when it's active, he'll be able to retain a bit of that HP, and once he reactivates it, depending on who he hits with this little AoE zap around him, he'll heal a percentage of his grey health. That's pretty different from what it was before. The main thing, though, that has changed is his E, which before was just an auto-attack reset that gave him a ton of AD based on missing health. It still does that now, but it turns into a mini projectile if you last hit with it. And the passive, finally, does negate CC. So for the first time, Mundo is CC'd every 45 to 15 seconds, scaling with level. He will just shake it off and drop a shield that he can go pick up similar to Poppy's Buckler that will give him back a lot of HP, which means against champions like Viego, who only have one very long cooldown CC, Paz is pretty safe in this lane in any circumstance.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to lock him down, and I like the fact that they actually called his passive Mundo goes where he pleases, because I think that's just a nice little thing. But Rift Herald has been started off now by Sengoku, at least in towards the top side, so can contest if he kind of senses that it's been started off. I have a little bit of vision towards this top side, so it looks like Mushin's just going to try and play around Cog here, try and get a pick onto Paz.
I need a lot of layering here between the top and the jungle for trying to break that Mundo shield before they go in. The kick will be wasted if they go on them first. Which means Cog in a really weird circumstance. You can see there, they try and break it, but do not manage to get it. Meaning Paz is effectively safe for the next 15 seconds or so.
Yeah, Mujin just waiting so long around this top side, not getting anything for the time that he's invested. Rift Herald was taken by Crash in the end. Mujin still lurking around.
You can see how oppressive as a weak side this Mundo is. They've already picked up that Bramble Vest, which means now Viego doesn't even get a good trade. Speaking of good trades, though, Ace coming out very nice there.
Yeah, even in most respects, but Ace starting to get the damage down onto Ramune here. Really just showing that Ace is so comfortable on this LeBlanc pick.
I'm going to hold my point right there. I was
Yeah, he's waiting for it.
I was about to go off on something, but then seeing just the hesitant there, Nautilus and a Thresh look at each other in the river, and Reyna was made a mockery of. As you can see, they were lurking on the Blast Cone to try and set up a gank for Mujin, but that ward that NT manages to get takes a lot of the pressure out of this lane, as especially when your ADC has already got tier 2 boots in the form of this Aphelios, they're going to be pretty hard to lock down if it doesn't come from a point and click initially.
Yeah, and even with that, you have the box, you have the flay, and you have the hook to try and actually just dissuade any engage coming out from B3. So can make this bot lane be actually quite safe relative to what a lot of other bot laners kind of have going for them. little bit of an invade here, stealing away the Raptors from Mugen. He's only very slightly behind here, so this will just equalize the CS differential.
Definitely no massive leads in any particular lane. First Blood has not been drawn yet, as we have had very near scrapes with death between these supports, and I imagine it will be one of them that is likely the First Blood recipient, because Paz, one thing about this Mundo, they don't really set up for ganks that well. They can't get ganked, but they don't set up for ganks well, which is why they are such a good weak side, but are really ineffective. They still have all the issues that Old Mundo did for a lot of the game, where you only really pick them when you want to put this hilarious of a focus onto bot. But Sengoku, they just haven't done it yet. There is next to no gold lead in this game. You're down a dragon, and while you may be able to break open some tower plates here, you're using it a minute before the Infernal? It's just such a disjoint, because now you don't even get that much of a gold lead or any pressure advantage coming into this dragon. You need to see Sengoku set up some kind of a play, maybe a dive onto bot beforehand, or they're just letting this game slip away before them.
I'm not really sure if it was because it was timing out or because they wanted to get the extra gold into the pocket of Ramune, but as you said, it does feel like quite a bit of a disconnect there, and Crash is level 8, still hasn't played around this bottom side or tried to communicate with Gango or Enti in any way to try and set up any gank towards the bottom side using the Onslaught of Shadows, and now 32 seconds until the Drake spawns, and it looks like V3 are the ones with the setup.
And because Gango had to run back bot to keep this wave pushed in, it meant that they were not able to hold their position in the river. So Sengoku has had to retreat back, and now V3, between Mugen and Reyna, have pretty much claimed the river for themselves. Ace, you could see how dominant they have been in this lane as of current. Just means that it's really difficult for Sengoku to actually contest this next dragon. And it looks like they may not even attempt to do it, as they are just really nicely done by V3, setting up for it. I'm going to say it's not exactly conservative play, it's just good play. It's very clean.
Yeah. And they knew that Crash was towards that bottom side because it was pinged out by one of the V3 members. Already have the Drake down to half health, and just going to get the back there from Crash, giving up this second Drake. And they have no real pressure to have to contest these Drakes because it is only the second Drake of the game. So once you get to that third Drake take and you're at soul point, then you're kind of forced to try and contest this, because that's a win condition in and of itself.
Is going to be the Cloud Soul, and I would say we got some good Cloud users right here. Oh, it looks like there's synergy. Look at it. It's mid-jungle synergy.
Oh, it's going to happen. Have to say that in Twitch chat. Gets the flash out of Cog. A little bit of synergy there, just showing. I mean, they got the flash out of the Viego. That's exactly what you want.
We are really scraping the bottom of the barrel, hoping here. This is not even
it's something. It's a start.
It's definitely a start, but it will not be the end, as right now there is attention paid to this bot side by V3 saying, I take offense to that play on mid. And look at this, your powerhouse bot lane is just being disallowed from walking to their tower.
Just being forced away completely. Ace going in will not manage to land the chains, but still gets the damage down onto Gango. Gets so much extra gold from these tower plates into the pocket of Hollow, Mugen, and Reyna. Now Crash is off to the side, has the Onslaught of Shadows available, but it feels like they're not going to go for it.
All TPs are up right now, but frankly Ace is in a pretty low spot for mana, so they wouldn't want to come down here straight away. This is a really good window for Sengoku if they could get something, but it seems inaccessible.
Yeah, just know that Crash is there. They have so much vision coverage in this southern river. Just means that Crash can't really do anything, even with his ult available, even with his E charged up. Just playing really, really safe now. No first blood, but SG are still ahead by just under 1,000 gold, which is not how we expected this 15-minute mark check-in to really be going.
Frankly, we expected a lot more aggression. I will say that one for certain. And in reality, it's kind of hard to say that the game is in one team's favor. The main issue for Sengoku is the two dragons, as a Cloud Soul isn't exactly a true win condition, but I would say that after a quick skim through, realistically, it's only Thresh that doesn't really care about getting more ultimate ability haste, as Paz going for a very aggressive trade here, actually, with the ultimate.
Yeah, we'll manage to find the slow Heartbreaker. Will get him to the safety of his tower. Both teams are playing around this top site now as the teleport is being channeled to the middle lane. The chains will not manage to connect, so we'll manage to walk away.
So much attention paid right here by V3 up to this second Rift Herald. Surely is the bell of the ball right here. They are collapsing. Keep an eye on that Nautilus ult.
7,000 health now, looking to go in. Crash, he's just going to get blown up. First blood over to Ace, but Cog would give up his life for the sins of the mid laner. Give up a second kill as well now, as that's V3 on the retreat. Hollow has to flash to try and get away, but Mundo flashes forward for the double kill with the cleaver to the back of the head. They give up Shirley as well. We'll lose this mid tier 1.
Oh boy, V3, that was really not what you were expecting when you walked into this one. A really good play, what it looked like initially, but will backfire massively as a return attempt does get the flash.
Attempt is exactly what it was. It was an int and a half. Mujin gets cut down. A kill over to the Orianna. And this is not the Sengoku that we saw in the last game. This is the Sengoku that lost to Axis. They're 4-1 up against our second best team.
Am I not on enough copium? Is that what this is? Is this some kind of sick joke, LJL?
More.
I cannot believe what I am looking at right now. As watch this approach. Mujin gets the great kick onto enemy jungle, comboed with Reiner, even flashes to escape. But the thing is, you're walking into a Aphelios with these two guns. Watch the massacre that comes out from Gango's damage. They are just dancing with a hula hoop of crescendoms around. Hollow does not get the flash over the wall and ends up falling for it, but that is all on the back of the sheer damage Gango could pump out. They've even opted for the Immortal Shield Bow, saying, hey, you've got a LeBlanc, you've got a Lee Sin, and a Viego. You are coming into me, and when you do that, you will die. And they have the perfect champion for it.
He's just like, my Severum isn't healing me up nearly enough. I'm gonna have Immortal Shield Bow here. You will not be able to kill me. I have a Thresh to sustain me. I have an Orianna shield. And then the Shockwave just to get an engage/disengage. Like, it's gonna be so difficult to try and access this Aphelios. If he has those two weapons, the Chakram, it's just gonna do so much damage, and it's what gained them, surely, 10 seconds until the Cloud Drake spawns. They're looking for an engage here.
And they have Paz with the Warmog's first item already. I don't know if they have enough HP to actually get the active of that. I assume they must be on it, if not close, with that item. You need 800 bonus HP from the item, and you need 1100 in total to get that Warmog's passive. But the power of this Mundo, just the sheer stance, is going to scare off the enemy team. Great zoning right here from Sengoku.
Yeah, Mujin looking for the Sonic Wave Resonating Strike combo, but we'll have to give up the Drake. Mujin off to the side now, clearing away a little bit of vision. We'll just go back to clearing his own jungle and give this buff over to Ace. But feels like V3 are on the back foot here. Sengoku will barrel down this middle lane, take this tier 1.
This Mundo might actually get oppressive very soon right here. You see, you can't even force them under your tower.
Yeah, Onslaught of Shadows just for the re-engage there as Ramune, he picks up the kill. Ace has to use that distortion just to try and get to safety. We'll have to get the disengage there.
And take a look at the healing from Paz right there. You wouldn't even tell they were taking damage, and they have not itemized any MR yet.
Wait until the Spirit Visage comes online. Then you'll be doing proper healing.
Thank the Lord for V3. It is not a Ocean Rift right here, as Mujin, I mean, yes, you did manage to take away some Krugs. That's a good win for you, but frankly, it is not enough right here, as a bit of a fundamental issue with V3's comp is that realistically, Cog is the only person that has a chance to deal with Paz this game. The actual just HP stacking that Mundo can get is going to be too big for Ace to burst through, Hollow to deal with unless they have somebody holding them at arm's length, or frankly, Mujin to really do anything against, because they could just run at you, slap you a lot, and it is going to be pretty silly to watch, I will say, as we get into future team fights.
It will truly be Mundo going where he pleases. Once he gets a couple more items under his belt. He's already 203 with 170 farm. He's sitting pretty right now. Well, he's sitting. Mundo isn't exactly pretty.
He's pretty as Mundo's ever going to be, frankly. Post rework, he's a beautiful flower compared to his previous self.
He is much better looking than he used to be.
I mean, he's always been jacked. We know that, but I mean, no Mr. Mundoverse this game.
That's because he keeps injecting himself with copium.
Yeah, true, actually. That is what it is. Paz is on the copium this game, and clearly it does something mad to you when you take enough of it, because they are going to be able to push on the side right now. Sengoku have forfeited the Baron side of the map, but frankly, against the Thalti Varus and this team, Viego is the only constant DPS you have, and it is not safe for a Viego to stand in melee range of a Hecarim who has an Orianna, Gango at any point, and frankly, NT can just keep them at arm's length. So realistically, it is going to take one hell of a setup from Ace, Hollow, and Muujin to actually get this Viego popping off in fights.
Look at this minion wave denial from Paz as well. Waited until the very last second just to take down that tower. Deny all the CS from Cog. It has narrowed the CS difference between himself and Cog so that he actually has an advantage in the CS.
And I want to point out that Gango has actually been getting funneled jungle camps so far. We saw it a minute ago where they actually just got the free Raptor camp for the sake of it, as is recognition saying, alright Crash, I've got my Divine Sunderer now, I've got all I need to jump in, heal a little bit, and then just stand in the way for Shockwave. Give everything else to Gango. We have seen in this game how much insane damage they can do, going back to the style that Sengoku prided themselves on of feed all the resources to this Aphelios. As the one thing I will point out, though, is it looks like they're building into an Infinity Edge second, but Infinity Edge requires a minimum of 60% crit chance to proc, so they will actually be at a little bit of a slump once they complete this item compared to the average power of the game.
Yeah, I was expecting something like a PD into an Infinity Edge. That's the usual build path, right, for AD carries. That's what I do.
It is a usual one. Either that or the Hurricane. Aphelios is a really big user of the Hurricane as Paz. Face checking into Reina, or maybe it's the other way around, actually. That was a lot of damage off of just the Cleaver.
Yeah, the Cleaver does an interesting amount of damage with the Divine Sunderer completed. Now, just completely stopping the chains there because of his passive. Viego over the wall, looking for something potentially here. Ace off to the side, has the chains available. Might be able to get caught out here, though. Has the Cleaver for the slow. Not managed to hit it.
One of the underrated changes that happened to Mundo was now when he pops the ultimate, instead of losing max HP, he actually gains a burst, because it was a weird feature to have in the first place.
It was really weird.
Which means that now Paz can face check pretty much without remorse, as Crash is actually getting chopped up.
Yep, he is the ideal target here, Crash. Taken down to almost no HP, but Muujin, he replies in kind. What the burst?
Paz dropped to like half HP and then immediately went to full off of a Sunderer proc plus ult. This is going to get worse for V3 the longer the game goes, which means they need to be pressuring right now.
You need to have so much damage, so much burst to try and take Paz out. His ult is almost half off cooldown already as Ace goes in, tries to get onto Gango, but doesn't manage to find the stun with the chains. Crash is back from the base now, so we'll have full HP and full mana. This is going to be the second Drake of the game for SG if they manage to pick it up. The third, and making it sole point for V3 if they manage to pick that up for themselves.
Gango clearing the mid-wave currently. They have astounding weapons for a big AoE team fight, and that is what is going to ensue if they can get it for Sengoku. You need to be very careful if you are V3 how you approach this.
Ace is off to the side. Keep your eyes on Gango. He has the Infernum, so can just spray and pray. Here's Paz. He's down to a third of his HP. Down to a quarter now as the Drake will be taken away. It was stolen away by the side of Sengoku Gaming. That is their second Drake of the game. No one goes down, but the objective taken by SG.
I'll have what he's having for this Dr. Mundo right here. The copium is starting to build back in my system as they now can reset, get pressure on this Baron, and frankly, V3, you're in a dire state, actually. Despite having that Serpent's Fang on your Varus, shields aren't your problem, mate. It's healing, and I do not see much healing reduction outside of Cog, who, if they're hitting Paz, the fight is probably already kicked off.
Yeah, I'm waiting for an Executioner's Calling on someone there. It's finally picked up by Cog just to dissuade all of this healing. Paz, he just heals up so much. It is obnoxious. You need to try and get those grievous wounds down. Finally, someone has it. Waiting for the Oblivion Orb to come through for Ace as well, but yet to see it. 2 stacks of that Dark Seal doesn't feel like it's going to do much of anything as in goes the Unstoppable Onslaught from Crash. He doesn't have the backup of the rest of the team, but that's a beautiful Shockwave just to finish him off.
Back to the playbook, we get some mid-jungle synergy. Say it with me, it's beautiful for Sengoku. The Copium is online as they're going to be able to secure this top side pressure and then look to either walk down mid, by the looks of it, or go over to that Baron if they so choose. But keep an eye on Ace. They have just completed the Rabadons. They are a monster and can blow up Gango before he gets a chance to hit.
But can you get through that Immortal Shield, Bow Shield with the Orianna Shield? And then you have the Thresh to block all of this engage. Paz is engaged upon with the Sonic Wave, does not take the Resonating Strike. And Sengoku will back away.
They have a very easy way to win this game if you are Sengoku. You just have to play it slow, group up as 5, and there is no good answer for V3. Taking a look at how this is playing out so far, you have to be extremely excited looking at, because frankly, V3, they are going to potentially even fish for a Desperation Baron here. You do have decent damage as they are spam pinging in the area, but you are near the end of your rope right now. If Ace cannot get something done onto a Stray Ramune or potentially onto Gango when they're coming back to a lane, the game's over.
It does feel very, very in the hole for V3 at this point. They're about a 4,000 gold deficit here now. They have Cog pushing the bottom lane, but this gives some freedom to SG around the Baron.
And Gango, they're about to run out of their Gravitum, and the reason they have this one currently is because it's so free for following up picks. If anybody oversteps, you can instantly get rooted, and then they will likely have another weapon that's good for shredding Baron, Crescendum Disgusting for it, so ideal spot right now if you're Sengoku. The only thing that's really a thorn in your side is Cog pressuring on the bot lane, because you really don't want Ramune down there, but you're going to take the sacrifice if you continuously get mid-pro and threatening on this Baron.
Yeah, you'd much prefer to have Paz down there on the Mundo, just pressuring the side lane, almost unkillable, especially with his ultimate up and available. And you really want the Orianna around just for the team fighting prowess that she provides. You have the Orianna Shockwave delivery system in Crash. So even to a certain extent, you have NT as well once he lands a hook and goes in onto that. So you definitely have the playmaking potential when you have the Orianna around. So that's why Paz is towards that top side, just shoving out the wave now in the bottom lane for Ramune.
This is such a significant game for both these teams. If Sengoku could take this win here, this could potentially be their turnaround story. And again, not to go too hard on the bias right here, they kind of need to win this right now, because if they do not, then they're going to be coming into the end of the split with, at best, a 2-5 record, which is really not what you want when you're attempting to play for a mid to upper end playoff spot. This could potentially be the crashing of the team if they lose this game, and realistically, V3, if they could take this one, joint first place would be amazing for them, because it means that they are most definitively going to be heading to playoffs with 1 or 2 more extra wins in their side, and they can certainly get them. The only issue is their comp right now just lacks answers with how well Sengoku is playing, and it's one thing to say they're playing defensive, but this is just playing smart.
It feels like it's Sengoku's game to lose here. They should be winning this game. They're at a 4,000 gold lead. They look like they're about to get their third Drake of the game, and all of the gold is onto the right targets. But we did see an 8,000 gold lead be thrown away earlier on today. So anything is possible. You have 2 items now on Cog, 2.5 items on your AD carry. And you're playing for Cloud Soul Point here now.
It is Cloud Soul at the end of the day. We have been talking about how good this dragon is, because you get multiple ults off from Paz. They could just always stand at the front of a fight and without remorse ult away at the first sign of danger. For them, it's great. For Crash and Ramune, it means every time you see them, they will have their wombo combo ready to go. It's realistically Gango and NT that don't gain too much from it, but the one thing I will say is if they secure the soul, bonus move speed on both of those champions when ulting is only a good thing. As we take a look, it looks like Gango will finally get out of his mini slump and finish off that third item, so they will gain the Infinity Edge crit bonus now with the Hurricane coming through. That is a teamfight menace and a half. 3-item Aphelios is not only something you should scoff at, but it's something you should be very scared of, because Ace, they need to tag over to 16 soon, really get their burst to the maximum possible, and the ideal situation from V3 is Hollow lands an arrow to apply the Serpent's Fang, which means that when you see Ace jump onto Gango, the Immortal Shield Bow is reduced in significance, along with that Locket on Thresh. So that is realistically the idealistic eyes you could be looking through if you're a V3 fan, but it's really idealistic when you consider that Varus hasn't even finished the Mirror Mana yet.
Yeah, it's very idealistic, but it is completely and conceivably possible for it to happen. And you just have Cog shoving in this bottom lane permanently, which means that SG are feeling safe to start on the Baron, but now they're going to peel away from it. They don't have sufficient vision in this topside quadrant to really feel safe doing it.
There is one little ward right there standing right next to Gango that could get so important if they do start this Baron. Gives Cog a great angle to flank. Ace could also potentially come in there, but right now I think they're very happy with their spot of just keeping top somewhat pushed out, but always being a lurker on the side. They have tapped over to 11 now, over to 16 even. So the level 3 ultimate means they are even more tricksy to deal with than a typical LeBlanc.
But the bright side for V3 fans is Cog has the Blade of the Rune King for that percentage health damage. Also has that Executioner's Calling for to deal with the healing coming out from Paz. So it will be a little bit easier than it was earlier on to actually deal with this Dr. Mundo. But it still feels like the ease of execution is heavily in favor of Sengoku.
All on them right now. They do have all the tools you could imagine. Even got the full Zonyas now onto Ramune, so it's one less person that you can reliably pick off and get Cog a reset. So may even see that become significant in these fights, as it is just constant lurking, and it looks like Sengoku, they're not wanting to throw this away. We've had a lot of very, I'm going to say, defensive victories come out. We had DFM last week where they were clearly going to win, but they took it as slow as humanly possible, so it was a certainty. And Sengoku seemed to be going down that route here.
Yeah, Paz has been caught out. He pops his ultimate. He's down to half health. He looks like he's going to be blown up here as Anti's trying to play as defensively as possible. Paz will be taken out. The Heartbreaker wrecks the heart of Sengoku Gaming. Looking for the follow-up now in the form of the Dr. Mundo. They just take one for nothing.
This is good recognition saying Gango does not have solid guns to fight us with. Yes, they can do some CC, but frankly, the DPS is not at an all-time high, using the very brief window right there to get the burst down. But the question is, what do they do with it? Do they just siege? Because the Dragon isn't up for a minute 20, so a bit of counter-jungling isn't really going to lose you much, considering Paz kept his flash there, whereas Cog and Mujin both use theirs. As we take a look in the replay right here, yes, Mundo goes where he pleases, but he may have gone a bit too far in this one, as they're usually quite safe, and the real issue is this Thresh Lantern that comes out in a moment gets absolutely just ran over. They don't realize it's there, or it's just a lack of ability to collect it because they'll just get CC'd by Reiner. And this Execute coming out from Cog gives them all the time they need to stroll back in with Mundo. The only thing is now, you've used a lot of your playmaking abilities, and the flashless Lee Sin and the flashless Viego are ripe for the picking. If Gango could get an auto attack into root, NT could get a hook, even just walking into a shockwave, it's a scary time for V3 to approach this soul point.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult for V3 to play out this upcoming team fight, but I do believe in them. They're our second best team in the league at this point, sitting on 4-1. But SG, Sengoku Gaming, need to get this win to really stay in this playoff running. I know it's only 3 weeks in, but they can't be on 1-5. They just can't.
It would be a really bad spot to sit. Gango does have a miraculous fighting guns right here, so they are ready for the fight.
Ace is looking for the way in. Lee Sin manages to steal away the Drake. That is huge for the side of V3. Mujin will pick up the kill onto the Hecarim. Crash is just dead, but Gango, he's unleashed in this team fight. He's trying his damnedest with the Chakrams. Will manage to pick up what looks like a double kill there, but Paz, no, he's the one who manages to get the kill. It's a 2 versus 3 now, as Ace is looking for the way in. Gango down to half HP. He has to flash to safety, but Cog, he's down into very low numbers. He'll be felled by the Varus. Ace looking for the Ace. Will manage to find a lot of damage, and there it is, the double kill for the Varus for the Ace.
Are they potentially going to look to push to end, or are they going to pivot to Baron? Looks like it will be the Baron. That TP to mid lane right there from Cog was giving ideas of maybe fishing for an in, but Crash will be up in 4 seconds. NT, I don't think they're going to be able to stop this Baron. The Varus actually takes it quite quickly, even with the lethality build, and when paired with Cog, that should go down. We do have both teams rushing there immediately low. Ramune has TP up in 3. Question is, will A-Buy be caught lurking? Looks like everybody from V3 will get out here scot-free. They secure the Baron, they flip the game on its head, take the gold lead, take the soul point for themselves, and let's see how it happened. Okay, Ace gets a little bit of poke on the flank. Gango, they do have great fighting guns, but as you watch right here, their front line goes one side and their back line is left facing the LeBlanc, and Ace does so much work right here. Look at the burst off of the knockup from Reiner. Blows up both Thresh and Orianna, and at that point, Gango, they're out of protectors. Yeah, they do a lot of damage, but they should have actually just tried to escape here, because as you can see, they do the best they can, but Paz, this Mundo, does not have any defensive tools for their allies. They escape Cog, but now they're just outranged by Hollow, where if they were ever allowed to hit, the damage was insane, but they just were kept at arm's length that whole time. V3 finding their way back into this game, and what should have been Sengoku taking it away is popped and is going to be blown up in their face. The game is not over though, so we'll have to see if they can keep it going.
From a 4,000 goal deficit, V3 has clawed their way back into the game to get themselves a 3,000 gold lead. All to play for still, but the Baron-powered wave will make it so much harder to try and defend this base. They have a decent amount of wave clear with Ramune on this Orianna, and with Gango, oh, the damage from Ace, he just hops forward and bops him.
They landed that chain. I'm pretty sure Ramune just dies immediately. And when you have a split map against the Blanc and the Varus, this is a awful lane state for Sengoku. They cannot safely defend either lane because you could just get blown up by the solo laners or picked by the mid lane group. So Sengoku, you need to pick your poison and pick it quick, because otherwise you are going to choke out under the pressure of V3.
So far, it is a 3-2 composition here. Ramineo, he just gets blown up there with the combo from Ace, and this cracks open the base. They're going to get the inhib in the bot and in the mid, and that might be all she wrote with this Baron-powered push.
I think it might be it. I think you're right. They are sieging right here at a Nexus. It's a Varus and a LeBlanc. I don't like this for Sengoku.
Has his ultimate available just to try and sustain. He uses his passive just to try and survive the CC being thrown out by V3. Cog, he's in a little bit of trouble because Paz is onto him. Pops the passive. There's Paz. He's looking for another follow-up kill here. Mugen has to use the safeguard to get to safety. And they get the pick onto Reyna, but that's one kill. They need to win the team fight. Here is Hollow. He's free-firing Paz. He's trying his best. He's trying to defend the base, but he gives up his life. And the ace, that is the game. V3 go 5-1.
Oh, Sengoku, it's a disaster. It all goes wrong at the last hurdle. It looked so good. They had the game in pocket, but just never tried to end it. So beautifully done by V3 on the comeback, though, using all of their tools to the fullest, which they really needed to, because that game was, I'm going to say, close to over at multiple points.
Yeah, it was looking so good for Sengoku, but in the end, V3... they get one really nice team fight. They get the Baron. It helps them push, win these team fights. In the end, they are victorious, sitting at 5-1. They're tied with Rascal Jester now.
We have a joint first place, followed up by Axis, sitting there in their sole possession of third at 4-2. Leaving us with our remaining chunk of Crest and Detonation Focus Me sat there at 4th place. Then we have the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks trailing in 6th with our joint last place of Sengoku and Burning Core. Let's take a look at how that last fight played off, and it's just keep an eye on Ramune, because if you blink, you'll miss what happens right now.
Yeah. Simple as. Just simple as that. Didn't even ult.
Didn't have to. In the late game, this LeBlanc does so much damage with that early Rabadons. It was just a matter of time for Ace to find a pick, but Sengoku had done such a good job up until that point there, really grouping together and keeping their backliners alive. But watch this right now. It's just a split threat. Cog keeps lurking on the side. Beautiful combo right there. And keep an eye for just Reyna on the side. They're going to get a beautiful hook in a moment, I believe, where they try and pull... They look for Gango, they get Crash, but watch this right here. Ace gets the lurk on the side, but Cog follows up, absolutely decimates. Game ends from there. And frankly speaking, Sengoku, Yeah, it's not looking good. Not good.
Okay, I think from that game, it looked the best that they have done this split so far. They're sitting at 1-5, and it was versus V3, one of our top two teams. So if they can play that way the first 20, 25 minutes versus one of our best teams, then they do have what I like to call flashes of brilliance. And that means that they might be able to win versus Detonation Focus Me and Crest Gaming, which are sitting at the mid tier. They're tied for 4th at this point. So if Sengoku can play like that versus them, then maybe they can actually close out the game and get a win.
It is a very scary start to the season for them, but coming into the future weeks, we need to see a revival because I agree, the form today was pretty decent. It looked like in the first game, yeah, Axis kind of just beat them straight up, just off of the back of solo carries. In the bottom lane, it was absolutely disgusting. That game was said and done. The wing condition from Sengoku was clipped in the wings before they even got a chance to fly. This game, it looked great, but it's so reminiscent of their previous games this split. It was almost identical in a sense to the Crest Gaming Act game they had where they were winning, good bot lane, good snowball, everything going great, gets to one significant point and it all just falls away before them. So if Sengoku can recover and just really fix that last little smidgen that could get them over the line, promising, but the real heroes here are V3.
Yeah, it's a big if, I think, given the form and kind of the style that they like to go for. It feels like as if it's like what a lot of EU teams, they're trying to shake off the rust, they're trying to shake off these mistakes that they're consistently making, but they don't seem to be able to find that form where they can stop making these mistakes. And they were 4,500 gold in the lead in this game, and it just felt like as if they completely threw it away because they were slightly disjointed or disconnected. Paz got cut out in that middle lane. He got blown up. The Heartbreaker coming in from Cog just completely turned it around.
Have to applaud their Viego performance. This champion, one of the reasons they're getting picked up so much in pro play is not necessarily because of the stats they offer, because of how they lane, all that kind of thing. It's just the fact there is always an assurity that if the enemy missteps just a little bit too much, and you truly can pop off on Viego, you can solo win fights. We saw it multiple times this game where Cog was just on the edge of being able to 1v9, and in those last two fights that we ended up getting, they really pushed it over the edge and secured their win for V3. I'm not going to say beautifully done from V3. They
It
picked
was
up a throw.
dicey at points. Very dicey at points. So yeah, I wouldn't say beautifully done from them. I'm happy for them that they managed to get the win in the end because it was deserved. But when your early game isn't looking that well versus one of our quote unquote worst teams, because they're sitting at 1-5. I'm not doing that just because you picked them for second. One of our quote unquote worst teams, judging by the standings, results-based analysis, of course. Then you have to try and shore up these weaknesses in the early game because a team like Rascal Jester, because they've already lost to Rascal Jester, but given double round robin, you will be playing against them again. You want to win the next time you play against them because you don't want them to have a 2-0 head-to-head.
And one thing I will note is there is only one more week left before our Super Week coming up on the 24th and the 25th of July. So these teams really need to get it together for next week, and then there will be a little bit of a slump time where we may see forms start to change around. It's around that point where Sengoku may get to turn their story, but at the moment, the tale goes the story of Rascal Jester, V3, and Axis. The expected trio to rule the top three of LJL, and I think on that bombshell, I'm pretty sure we could call it for the long, long day.
Yeah, I think it's been enough of a day for all LJL fans out there, LJL OU fans as well. And we want to give our producer a little bit of a rest too. So join us once again, same time, same place, next broadcast day. Thank you so much for watching throughout the day. I know it's been a long slog, but we loved every single minute of it. We'll see you very, very soon.